All right, folks, we welcome you this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is a regularly scheduled and called Greer City Council meeting convened this evening, July the 23rd, 2019. Having called the meeting to order, I would like to ask you to join us as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Councilmember Jay Arrowwood. We, this evening, have Gabe Turner with Troop 795. Mr. Turner is going to lead us in our pledge, so if you would, join us as we stand.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for letting me and let this council assemble here tonight to help lead your city. Give us the wisdom that we need to make the decisions that you would have us make, the decisions that will help all of our citizens. Lord, in our city family tonight, one of our judges has lost his mother. I pray, Lord, that you will put your loving arms around him and his family, and throughout this time of bereavement that they will feel your presence. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen. Amen.
So indeed, we thank you for joining us for a council meeting. One of the things that we do each meeting is set aside time at the first of the meeting for what is called public forum. This is an opportunity for those folks that wish to address an item or issue on our agenda to be able to do so. Ms. Duncan, does anyone wish to appear in public forum this evening?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And then we'll move on to the minutes of the council meeting from July 9th, 2019. I'll entertain a motion that they be received at this point.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk this evening? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, you have activity reports from the different departments listed there in your agenda, and Ms. Susan Howell will join us this evening for a presentation on our financial update.
Good morning, good evening, Mayor and Council. Sorry.
Been a long day.
I am presenting the financial results, the operational results as of June 30th, 2019. These numbers are not final. They will change. We'll have some accruals, adjustments, and audit entries that we'll be making over the next couple of months. And then after the audit is complete, we'll be presenting the final financial results with the capital. So I'll start out with the general fund. The cash balance is $17,795,970. The year-to-date revenue is $28,379,000. The year-to-date expenses are 4% under budget at $24,871,000. And if you look at the dashboard, you'll see that we have a positive revenue variance of $2,138,000, a positive expenditure variance of $1.37 million, and then a positive overall variance of $3,508,350, which is fantastic. This even includes $730,000 transfers that we've made to help cover the special construction projects that we have. So that's good. Okay. So I will move on. Oh, there's one more thing, sorry. With the overall budget, the overall benchmark variance, $3.5 million. That's what it is right now. After we do make all of our adjustments, we do still anticipate to have an increase to fund balance of between $2.5 and $3 million. So I'll move along to the hospitality fund. The cash balance is $1,219,251. The revenue is $2,465,129, which is 6% over budget, and the expenditures were $2,270,671. The stormwater, the cash balance is $1,632,084. The revenue, $984,462, and then the expenditures are $676,445. Hopefully I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, questions?
I know it's early and probably haven't analyzed this, but any idea where all that money came from?
It came from several different places. A lot of it was from the property taxes, the excess that we received there, because we don't budget that growth really. We budget what we received last year, and so there was that growth there, which was huge. And then also our business license, we had over $1 million that we collected there over budget.
So $1 million over projected revenue on business license. And did you say 6% above projected revenue in the hospitality?
Yes.
Others? Thank you for the update. We appreciate it. Council, as we do from time to time, we'd like to focus on one of our departments, get an overview of their monthly activity, just to keep us abreast of all that is going on this month. Mr. Red Watson, the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, joins us to give us a monthly highlight and activity report from the Recreation Department. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Danner, members of the council, for the opportunity to share our activity report with you this evening from the month of June. You'll see on your monitors and on the screen behind me the report that's submitted to you every month. We've included some additional illustrations just to highlight some of the bullets that we'll talk about tonight. On page 1 of the report, you'll see department projects. The first one noted, Center for the Arts. You'll see a drone shot of it and also a shot of the landscaping. In the month of June, you can see that we're almost done with the inside of the building. We're now making decisions regarding furniture, window treatments, signage, and things like that. We plan on agricultural arts staff occupying the building after they've completed their arts camps and tunes in the park. The landscaping in the park has started with the installation of plant materials. Most of the trail and concrete sidewalks have been completed with the exception of the limestone walkway that goes throughout the park. CPW has started installing the parking lot, decorative acorn light poles throughout the park, and surrounding street lights are being converted to LED. So if you get a chance to ride by, especially at night, really transform the entire parcel. Looks really good. Moving on to the end of page 1, you'll see some information about Kids Planet. We're selecting the final color samples for the pour-in-place design on the playground, and also the playground equipment colors for the actual structures themselves. Finalizing the agreement with the civil engineer and working towards preparing bid documents and a pre-construction meeting. On page 2, you'll see department participation. One thing I'd like to highlight from that part of the report, of course, is Freedom Blast from last month. It was one of our most successful Freedom Blasts to date, we think. The weather was absolutely wonderful. The music was great. Attendance was great. Just really couldn't have asked for a better atmosphere. So every year we try to make it better, and this year I think the weather helped us out a lot, but we somehow did it, and that's what our goal will be, to do again next year. You'll see information about our department trainings, division highlights, grounds maintenance. You'll see some of the things that they did over the month of June. And athletics also, you'll see where we've started fall sports registration for baseball, softball, soccer, football, and cheerleading also. And then a little bit of information about our all-star teams that were competing throughout the month of June. Page 3 continues division highlights, particularly in our recreation division. You'll see information about our camps at the Victor Victor Gym and Needmore Recreation Community Center. We got 125 kids per day approximately that participate in 8-week camps at both of these sites. Both camps are full rostered, as they are each year, and really the best deal around if you priced out youth camps. You'll see information about our seniors program, or the SOAR, Seniors Out and Around program. At the bottom of the page, information about our cultural arts division, particularly where Robin spoke at the Lions Club, giving information about the new Center for the Arts building and programming for arts in Greer, and also Tunes in the Park kicking off on June 14th with the Mighty Kicks, and also Greer Idol and Greer Idol Junior are part of that each and every Friday night here in the park. And then finally, on page 4, you'll see in the middle of the page our upcoming events. We always like to keep 4 dates available for everyone. Particularly, you'll see Moonlight Movies and Tunes in the Park. They have a couple more weeks left in July. Upcoming food truck rollout, August 16th here at City Park. Rail Fest, September 28th. The Artists and Makers Market, Beauty and the Beast. And it may not seem like it, but it's not too early to think about Christmas also. We'll be here before we know it.
So,
Yeah. We're preparing for it right now. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I saw the playground, some of the equipment's been put in down at the Art Center.
For the arts.
It looks good. I saw that big slide, and I immediately thought of Jay.
Yeah, it looks good. It's coming along very
It
nice.
looks great. It really does, yeah.
and, took some out of town friends down there Sunday. It is beautiful. Yeah.
It really is.
Outstanding. Not really a question, but just a comment on of looking at the numbers for the SOAR and all the programs. That's great participation. I mean, it's not like we just have empty rooms and folks are, all ages are participating, and it looks like they're having a good time and they continue to come back. So, good job.
Yep, our staff works hard and very dedicated to providing for everyone that we can.
It's an amazing variety of things. I didn't have any idea we were doing all those things. We got a Morse code class. I mean,
That's when it really gets the family.
yeah. Anything else?
I did see a couple walking on the sidewalks around there today, too, so they were taking advantage of the sidewalks, outside walking.
Oh, good. Awesome. We expect to see a lot more of that coming
Yeah.
up. Very well.
Good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the update. Mr. Driggers, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. No report.
Well, I was going to say it was a hard act to follow.
Most of the dates they're out there.
Yeah, you want to give us an overview and maybe an update? I know you were at the legislative session on Saturday, other events from the Municipal Association meeting. Anything that might be worthy to pass along to us from that event?
Sure, certainly glad to do that. We did gather in Greenville last week for the Municipal Association of South Carolina's annual meeting, their annual summer conference. Meeting went extremely well. We had an opportunity to highlight much of the work that we're doing here relative to our Synergy project. The South Carolina Association of Mayors invited us to come in and address that group specific to our communications program and how we are engaging our community and keeping them informed throughout the construction process over the 18-month window. So I appreciate Mayor Danner's involvement in that association group, allowing some of our staff members to come in and present information on that. Great feedback. We're very excited about that. You'll see that being submitted next year as an award submission on behalf of the city. So it was a great opportunity for us to kind of get out and test some of that as we prepare for next year. A good bit of update relative to legislative affairs. What I will do for you is I will forward to each and every member of council a copy of that report in its entirety so that you can see some of the initiatives that were primarily taking place this past year. One of those that was most significant for us is a compromise bill that we were able to get through Relative to the local government fund, we all know that we have not been funded fully under the local government fund for a number of years, and it was unlikely, and we had been told that it was unlikely that the funding level would return to the original commitment that was made. So a new formula was derived, presented through the House Ways and Means Committee, ultimately adopted by both houses of the legislature, and we have a new formula in place, but we do believe that it will give us some stability for a number of years, and so that we can better budget and budget certainly more accurately what we would anticipate receiving through the local government fund. And that was significant for us this past year. A couple of other issues that are really affecting us that we're watching more closely as we approach the next legislative session, and that'll certainly be any bills that are filed dealing with business license tax. As we just pointed out, business license tax is a huge part of our budget. When we look at all revenues relative to business license tax, for us it's about 28% of our total revenues. And so we certainly need to make sure that we are keeping our elected officials in Columbia aware of our dependence on that, because obviously if we had to reduce 28% of the revenue of our budget, we would only have two choices, and that would be to supplant that with property tax, or we would have to drastically reduce services that we provide here in our community. There would be
Turned down when we had such a big hit on it. So
yeah,
we know what.
Exactly. And so relative to, again, to the report that was given on that, it is the reason that we had surplus of $1 million. We try to be extremely conservative from that perspective, not budgeting for growth in that area. We certainly identify any specific projects that we know are not recurring in the following year. And so what we're trying to communicate to our state legislature is that we rely on business license tax revenue, but we also manage that extremely well. We are good stewards of the money that we are entrusted to by our businesses and by our citizens. That decision is best made at the local level. We certainly believe that we need to maintain our local authority relative to those decisions. We do concur that there needs to be some uniformity around the state relative to due dates and those types of things, but rates need to be locally set, and the use of those funds need to be locally set as well. So we are anticipating that'll be a big issue as we come into the next year, and we'll continue to spend time on that. I do encourage you should receive some information concerning the upcoming legislative summits, the legislative agenda-setting sessions that the Municipal Association will be holding. I think we have one in Malden, another one over in Greenwood. I'm actually attending one over in Lexington because of schedule, but it's a good opportunity for each of you to get engaged in the legislative agenda for the Municipal Association, give the opinion from our perspective of what's important to us and what has impact to us. So those are some of the things that we certainly we heard last week, was reinforced with us through that meeting as well. Other training sessions, obviously very specific to technology. A lot of those sessions relative to cybersecurity. So a lot of what we've been talking with you about is being reinforced on the state level as well. Specific to that, you may have heard just this past week that a sheriff's department in one of the counties in South Carolina was hacked and was held ransom just this past week. And so it is happening close to us. And we continue to work very, very closely to make sure our systems are protected. Was that Oconee County Sheriff's Department is where that occurred this past week. So it is real, and there were a great deal of information shared with us at the meeting last week about that as well. Most of the others, risk management, those things that would be of particular interest to us in relation to public safety, public works, those types of operations. And so those that were able to attend, certainly appreciate your attendance at that event last week. It's great educational opportunities for us to continue to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. With that, we'll move on to appointments of boards and commissions. We still have an opening on the Board of Architectural Review. Our historian, Joetta Hyatt, has resigned. Her term expired at the end of June, and so we have been diligently searching for someone to fill that position. And Mr. McMahon joins us at the podium, so I'm going to assume he may have a recommendation.
We have got a few more recommendations from council, and we are still vetting some of those. Some of those have conflicts, so we are trying to figure out the best person for that position.
Good. Thank you, sir. With that then, council, will move to items of old business, and Mr. McMahon can just stay where he is, because the second and final reading of ordinance number 28-2019 is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of a portion of property owned by SEPA Enterprises LLC located on Freeman Farm Road from C3 Commercial to I1 Industrial to 7R7.5, which is a residential single-family district. Any new or additional information in regards to the final reading of ordinance number 28-2019?
Yes, sir. I just want to give all of council an update. First reading, this was discussed about the road closure issue. Since that time, both parties have come to an agreement and completed the legal proceedings to close the road. The city attorney has recommended to staff that all liability for the city has been resolved. That's all the information that we have at this time, sir.
Council, based on the recommendation and the information that you just heard from our planning department, I'll entertain a motion to receive. So moved. Second. On motion and second, floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And items of new business this evening, the first reading of ordinance number 29-2019 comes before us this evening, council. This is an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of any and all interest in certain real property in the city of Greer. This comes with information from the administrator.
Yes, sir. As we are all familiar, as we've continued to complete the work that was taking place in the Needmore community, Spring Street that exits into Poinsett Street was relocated. It was realigned there at its exit point and entrance point, I guess, at the Poinsett Street area. To do that, it required that both some property needed to be acquired from the adjacent property owner, and it left excess property on the remaining corner. The business that is located closest to that corner is Elick Chiropractic. As we were working through the process, we discovered that there are a number of CPW right-of-way issues at that site. And by issues, I simply mean that at the existing roadway, there were existing rights-of-way for water, sewer, gas, electric that CPW needed for that general area. We were going to be in a position that had we maintained that parcel of property in our city inventory, there would have been a crossover of our property to enter into Elick Chiropractic, as well as we would have had responsibility for all maintenance of that site continuing to go forward. Cotransco, who managed that project on behalf of the Greenville County Legislative Transportation Committee, came to us and recommended that that portion of the property be conveyed to the adjacent property owner. I met with those folks. We offered that. They were willing to accept that property, understanding that all of those current rights-of-ways had to be maintained and extended, not only for what they already had on their property, but through this remaining residual piece of property as well. We indicated to them that they would be responsible for all survey work, all legal work, all recording work of that property if we would be allowed, if council would allow us to convey that to them. again, on the recommendation of the Transco representing the Transportation Committee, we bring this ordinance to you with a recommendation to convey that portion to the adjacent property owner, which is Elite Chiropractic.
Council, first reading of ordinance number 29-2019 comes with a recommendation from administration to convey this land to the adjacent property owner. Do I hear a motion to receive?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Floor is open for discussion.
I'm assuming that the Alex agreed to the terms.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We've kept them involved in the process throughout this. We had a preliminary appraisal on the property. It was determined that any value of that property was only to the adjacent property owner, but as a standalone piece had no value other than utility right-of-way. And so, again, we felt that it was in the best interest, and for us not to go out now and into, forever mowing that small shave of piece that was on the corner, that we would convey that over so that there would be use for commercial business, and that they would maintain the property.
Because when they realigned that street, they made it, even when they come across to the one that's beside the clock.
Yes,
So it didn't have any advantage to us at all
correct.
after that.
It would have been a maintenance responsibility for us going forward.
Others? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, having attended to all of our stated business this evening, we do have two matters to consider in executive session. I'll entertain a motion that we move to executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pertaining to the Public Services Department as allowed by state statute, section 30-4-70A1, and also to discuss a contractual matter pertaining to banking services as allowed by state statute, section 30-4-A2.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Mayor Danner?
Yes, and I will offer that I will recuse myself on item number 2 of executive session. We stand in executive session. Council, in executive session, you have considered two matters. I recused myself on matter 2. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Second.
Have a motion and a second in regards to personnel matter pertaining to Public Services Department and a contractual matter. Ms. Duncan?
We got to come out from.
Yeah. We're coming out of executive session.
Oh.
We got a motion and a second. Correct?
Okay.
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, any further business this evening before we adjourn?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we transfer the city's banking services to county bank.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Floor is open for any discussion. Questions? Comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Ms. Duncan, I will recuse myself from that vote, please, sir. Ma'am? Yeah. I'll need another sheet for that, I assume. So, council, having no further business, stand adjourned.